All right, you ready for the Southeast there?
How many of the 5 teams, how many do we have available here? One.
We have 4.
Okay, all right, thank God.
One is off the board. That is the top of the division, Miami Heat, because of the Damian Lillard situation and reports and rumors and all that good stuff. So let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. Your team, my team, America's team.
Mary, as you say, yeah.
Atlanta's Hawks.
Okay.
Atlanta Hawks. Can I say that?
Atlanta went 41-41 last year. Didn't do much in terms of improving, but Quinn Snyder's there. Market should still be somewhat okay with them. They're going to be in the 40s. I'll say win total 44.5.
Ooh, 42.5.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
You got to like that, though, right?
Yeah, that's a little low. Given our expectations for them and the fact that I think they can win that division. And here's the thing, too. This is the important part about these. If Miami lands Damian Lillard, you would expect that Atlanta's win total, whether it be the odds or whether it be a full win, does get adjusted.
Yeah.
So even if I think that thing is going to, even if I think the current price is cheap or the number is cheap, I'm going to wait because I want to see what the market does when Miami gets Damian Lillard, because at the very least, it's not going up. Right. So that's going to be something to monitor, too, for them.
It's a good – I mean, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on Hardwood Handicappers, but, that's something that if you're an NBA bettor, you got to keep that in mind this entire offseason. If there's a bet you're thinking about that's posted, if you're thinking about it, you got to make damn sure it's a bet that can't be affected by a Damian Lillard or James Harden move, and so many of these can.
That's low. And just given the fact that, again,
it's the same as the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's the same as the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're talking about, again, if we're going back from last year, only a 1-win advantage, 1 to 1.5 win improvement for Atlanta if they looking at that win total. And if you go back and look at the numbers for them under Quinn Snyder, at the very least, from the day that Quinn Snyder took over to the end of the regular season, they were the 4th best offense in the NBA. An offensive rating in non-garbage time of 120.1. I think they're going to be better with a full offseason of Snyder and what this offense is going to look like. That's one to circle right there for Atlanta.
Me too. I think that's absolutely true. I think the other thing to keep in mind, Eastern Conference, it's still tough. We talked about this in the first hour, but would you say the East is tougher than last year? If anything, it's easier.
Oh yeah, no, yes, I would agree with that. Yes,
it's still the tougher conference, but it's easier than what we saw a year ago.
Because I think you can make the argument the Bucks. You can make the argument the Bucks are getting somewhat stale because they're just kind of re-signing and retooling a little bit and trying to do some stuff, but overall mostly the same core. And we don't know about the availability of certain guys too as you move forward into the season, namely Chris Middleton. We just talked about the Celtics, arguably worse, and if they suffer one injury throughout the regular season, that's depth that's going to get tested. The 76ers, when everything starts on October 19th. Could be sitting there without James Harden and without Damian Lillard. And then you just go down the rest of the list. The Raptors could be sellers. Don't really buy Chicago, running it back essentially. Like you can go up and down the list. The real improved teams, technically you could say would be Miami, but the others are going to be like Indiana, Orlando, Detroit, teams that are from the bottom coming up, and I think the top is coming down. So to your point, yeah, I think that is the case now.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. I mean, the Nets obviously, but that we already saw that last year, in the middle of last year. But okay, Kevin Durant moves from east to west. That's a pretty big shift. All right, let's keep it rolling. Orlando Magic next up. Your win total guess.
Okay, this is going to be tough. It's going to be in the 30s. They won 34 games last year.
This is another number I'm frustrated by.
Oh, okay. Well, that gives me an idea then. So let's go 39.5.
35.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be pretty good next year.
Me too.
That was a little aggressive on 39.5, but okay. They're going to be way better, I think, than last year. And they won 34 games, and they played a lot of good teams tough. I've mentioned this before. They were, with 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against spread against Boston. They had that stretch where I think it was like from the end of December through February. They were a top 10 defense. They're going to be a lot better, I think, this year. And they won 34 games last year. It was 35.5?
35.5. Yeah, okay. Probably a good chance I still bet over on them this year. But I think I was guessing 32.5, 33.5, something in that range.
Well, and look, like progression is not like linear, right? So it doesn't just go up. But you would assume improvement from Paolo Banchero. You'd assume improvement as a team just because of time together overall. It's interesting.
I think Franz is going to have a big year.
Right.
I think this could be a big year.
They're good, man.
It's good. That's a good team.
They're good.
All right, let's go to not so good teams. The Charlotte Hornets.
Okay, this is going to be pretty fascinating. they're probably they're not power rated as low as the Washington Wizards. The Wizards, by futures accounts, are the lowest rated team. And just using what we already talked about, Will Hill, is Washington's win total 26.5?
25.5.
Oh, 25.5. Okay, I already forgot what he said. So I'll say that Charlotte's win total is 20.
You guessed it even after you said it already.
I'll say Charlotte's win total is 27.5.
31.5.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually glad you guessed that because, yes, Will's right. This team is going to be better, but 30 wins, I still think they're right around that range. 31.5 feels a little high to me.
It does. And also, and we'll tie in Washington because we already talked about it.
Like, there's only a 4-game difference. You tell me a 4-win difference between the Hornets and the Magic?
Yeah. And
I don't buy that.
Here's something I don't buy either personally as we're talking about these bottom two teams. This might sound crazy, so you tell me if I am. Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, Corey Kispert, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford is not a terrible starting lineup for the Washington Wizards. Tyus Jones is a good starting point guard. You have, obviously, Poole and what he's potentially capable of.
Do you know how many shots? Like, I even tried to look at, like, Jordan Poole and most improved. He's up there. The one that I was looking at was Kuzma's. We're trying to find a Kuzma number. Do you know how many shots Kuzma and Jordan Poole are going to put up on that team?
Dude, it's going
to be insane.
Nobody's going to tell them no.
Right, exactly. It's they have the free fire order now from head coaches. Like, that is, go ahead and take as many shots as you guys want.
And here's the thing, and Will mentioned this, and people are always going to point to this when it comes to the NBA, which is, hey, you're going to tank, yada, yada, right? But my rebuttal would be twofold when it comes to the tanking thing. First off, there is no prospect at the top of next year's draft like Victor Wembanyama at all. And there's not every year, but what I'm saying is there's not like a clear-cut guy that you're really going for. And yes, do you want to get the first overall pick, whatever? Sure. But overall, there's not anything really that you're pushing for if you're a team like Washington that's going to be near the bottom, as it's projected is going to be the case. The other thing is, too, if you look at some of the worst teams out there, and there's always a team that is going to be bad and worse than you expect. But, Kelly, look at the teams that ended up finishing outside of the playoffs last year. Indiana, Washington, Orlando, Charlotte, Detroit. And in the West, Dallas, Utah, Portland, Houston, San Antonio. Of all of those teams, really, like, there's like Charlotte and Washington, which are abject disasters.
Yeah.
The rest of those, you can make the case improved and might push for a play-in spot next year. You see what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know if there's going to be the concerted effort from Washington to actually do this. They're going to be bad, but, like, again, the core that they have is not one of the worst in the NBA. I'm not projecting them to win like 37 games, but I think betting under 25.5 might not be the cinch that many think it might be once you get to the point of the end of the year.
It is an interesting conversation, though, looking at that team of like once we get the prop of fewest wins, right, of who those teams really in the running are going to be. I think Washington you at least have to put on that list for right now.
Yes.
Washington, Charlotte, I agree with you, those two, but I don't really know that there's a whole lot else to look at in the Eastern Conference because I do think Detroit's going to be better. The Pacers, I don't know what you think about them, but probably right where they were last year is probably where I'd peg them at.
I think they're good enough to make a push for a play-in spot.
And then in the West, I mean, we still yet to see, I guess, what this Blazers team is really going to look like, but I don't think I'd have them in that, like, really challenging for the worst record.
Mm-hmm.
Rockets, Spurs are probably still in that conversation, and Rockets, I think, will be a little bit better, but how much better, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Here's the thing, too. This is worth pointing out really quickly. So I mentioned Indiana might be pushing for a playoff spot and a play-in spot. And one of the things was, hey, look, like they spent money. They went to go get Bruce Brown. One of the interesting things came out, when these deals get official, you actually get details on the contract. Bruce Brown signed that 2-year deal. The second year is actually a club option. So it's a team option for $23 million.
Really?
Yeah. That's pretty fascinating given the fact that, he could be on an asset, whatever it is. Like, he could technically be an expiring if you want to ship him off to a team and they don't want him. So it'd be pretty interesting to see what they do with him. The thought was they were spending money and they're pushing for a play-in, but if they are worse than they expect, there's a reality in which Bruce Brown, Buddy Hield, and Miles Turner are all ship them off.
And keep in mind, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner's been on the trading block for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.